Thank you for joining us today, Bob. We appreciate your telling us about your experience with medical care in Santiago after you had this horrible situation with the dog bite.
Well, thank you, Lee, for having me. Yeah, I got bitten on my ankle with a small dog, and I went to get care here. And in Chile, it's required to get rabies shots, which I was a little bit reluctant to get. But I took their advice, and I got a rabies shot and a tetanus shot that day with no problem and no cost. And there's a regimen of a total of 4 shots, and they're very strict on what days you have to get them. So like 3 days later, I needed another shot, and I was going to be in Easter Island, and so I was worried that maybe I wouldn't be able to get a shot there, but I said no problem, and I went to Easter Island, which is a 5-hour flight from here, and I went to the hospital there. 10 minutes later, I had my shot. I was done, no problem, and I think it was 2 weeks later I needed the next shot, and I was in the United States, and I thought, well, that shouldn't be obviously no problem there. Well, I went to try to find a location, and 3 of us spent a total of 6 hours on the phone with the insurance company trying to find not only a place to get a shot, but to get a reasonable cost, because the cost for a single shot in the United States was $2,400. And after the 6 hours of pleading and trying to come up with different methods, we finally came up with the idea that if I go to the emergency room, which was the only place I could get one, I had to tell them it was an emergency room visit, and the insurance company told me to code it that way, and I had to convince the physician's assistant, whoever was taking the data, to code it that way. Finally, they did, and it ended up costing me $25 deductible, and I did have the bill though of $2,400, but only $25. And then I finally got my last shot here in Santiago. Again, just walk into the clinic, and 10 minutes later I'm finished, and no cost. So I'm really pleased with the care here I've gotten.
And you've spent a lot of time in Santiago,
Yes.
living and working here. What would be your approach if you had a serious surgery that you needed? Would you go back to the U.S. or would you stay here?
I would definitely stay here and get the surgery. I've had a couple of friends had major operations with no complications and less than half the cost. And I've had a complete physical, including a colonoscopy here, and it was very easily done and quite good. They take great care of you at the clinics. They walk you through the procedure, and even if you don't speak Spanish very well, which I fall into that category, that's no issue.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that you'd also had some cardiac evaluations here in Santiago. How was that experience for you?
Well, that experience was good too. I've had a similar issue in the United States, and so I knew what to expect. It was a nuclear stress test where they inject a radioactive dye into you, and the care here was equal, if not better, than the United States. The machine that they took the pictures in after you've been injected seemed to be far superior because it was a quicker and easier solution. So I was very comfortable.
Well, I really appreciate your sharing these stories. Are there, and your real experiences here, are there any other comments you'd like to make to our U.S. audience, many of whom are frustrated with the changes in healthcare in the U.S.?
Well, I've had nothing but good experience here. In fact, there's two of my coworkers had brain aneurysms, and they've luckily survived, and due to the excellent care they've received here. So it's not just foreigners, but they've had good luck with the medical care here in Santiago.
If you had something serious, so you would stay here, not go back to the U.S.?
Definitely, I'd stay here and do it.
Well, I appreciate your sharing this story with us today. You will help many people.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.